Well, howdy everyone, and welcome to this special movie review of Uncharted, the movie. I'm your host, Anthony. I host Do Not Worry, the podcast every week here on the channel. And I'm also a big gamer. I really love, I've played PlayStation games for many years, particularly the Uncharted franchise. I love the Uncharted games. I've played every single one except for the one that came out on the PlayStation Vita, the portable one. But I've played Uncharted 1, 2, 3 multiple times, and I've played Uncharted 4. I would say the first Uncharted game is my least favorite out of all of them, but that's just because it was maybe like the clunkiest. But I really, really love the franchise. I love what Naughty Dog did, making it such a cinematic experience. It was like watching a massive Indiana Jones Hollywood blockbuster, but you were playing it and it was immersive. And the motion capture was amazing. I thought Nolan North absolutely killed it as Nathan Drake in those video games, which is why I think they've struggled to make this film for so long, is like they've had a hard time casting Nathan Drake. We're going to talk about that a little bit. But I absolutely love those games. I've platinumed one of them. I got all the trophies for one of those games, either Among Thieves or I think Drake's Deception is the one I ended up platinuming. But I absolutely love those games, particularly 2 and 3. So, needless to say, I was always very curious of the prospect of an Uncharted movie. Now, they've been working on an Uncharted movie for a number of years. I remember from like a while back, they had announced that David O. Russell was going to direct it at one point, and it was going to star Mark Wahlberg as Nathan Drake. The internet freaked out, like no one was having it, because again, everyone has a very specific image of who should play Nathan Drake. The internet wants Nathan Fillion. We've wanted Nathan Fillion from the beginning. He's obviously a little bit too old, and he did end up doing that short film on YouTube, which is awesome, the short Uncharted film, so that was a lot of fun. But anyways, after years of the film being in sort of like development limbo, they officially announced Ruben Fleischer as the director a couple of years back, and they attached Tom Holland to play Nathan Drake, and Mark Wahlberg went from playing Nathan Drake to playing Victor Sullivan, or Sully, Nathan's sidekick, beloved sidekick. So, and again, the internet really likes Tom Holland because he's our new Spider-Man. We all like Tom, but we did feel that like he was maybe a bit too young to play the role. When you think of Nathan Drake, you think of someone maybe like at least like 5 years older or something, someone in their maybe early 30s. Nathan Drake is also, no offense to shorter people, but like Nathan Drake is a tall dude. Tom Holland looks a little bit short. Like Tom Holland looks like a child. Although he's in like his mid-20s or something, he's always going to look a little bit young. He's got that baby face. He's a little bit short. So it didn't seem like the right fit. And also Mark Wahlberg as Victor Sullivan was way too young to play the role. But anyways, having said all that, how is the movie on its own? Is the movie entertaining? And the short answer is yes, it's pretty good. It's not fantastic. It's not great. It's a pretty by-the-numbers sort of treasure hunt, action-adventure, modern action-adventure type thing. And it's pretty fun. And it's very much true to the games in many ways. Like it mixes a lot of the elements from the first game, the second game particularly, especially how the film opens. If you've played the second game, this movie kind of opens like that, but with a different set piece. Like they're borrowing set pieces from all of the games, like Drake's Deception, the whole airplane, and the crates flying out of the plane, that's pulled straight out of the third game. Some characters are pulled out of the games, like Chloe. She's from the second game. So it definitely feels like it belongs in the Uncharted universe. And this is like, it's kind of an original story, but it's got pieces from all of the games. So it definitely felt like the video games. The characters mostly acted like they did in the games. Again, Tom Holland doing his best as Nathan Drake, although, again, it's not a one-to-one thing. It's his own interpretation of the character a little bit, but he's trying his best to give off that Nathan Drake vibe, and it works most of the time. Again, he's just maybe a little bit young. Mark Wahlberg as Victor Sullivan worked less for me. Like, it worked. The more the movie went on, the more I liked Mark Wahlberg as Victor Sullivan, but it really, he's too much of a Mark Wahlberg. Like, you just see Mark Wahlberg there, the way he talks. He's got a very specific way of talking. So it very much reminded me. I just felt like I was watching Mark Wahlberg. It did not feel like Victor Sullivan. He really needed the mustache, in my opinion. Like, you got to give the guy the mustache because he was just like straight up Mark Wahlberg. But also watching the film, it made me very happy that they didn't make this Uncharted movie a few years ago with Mark Wahlberg as Nathan Drake. Like, Tom Holland is a way better Nathan Drake than Mark Wahlberg. It would have been horrible if Mark Wahlberg was Nathan Drake. I gotta say that. The film was directed by Ruben Fleischer. Now, Ruben Fleischer has a pretty mixed filmography. He's done some pretty cool stuff, like the Zombieland movies. He made the first Venom movie, which isn't very good, but like it was kind of fun. He's made some pretty bad stuff, like well, like Venom, and like Gangster Squad. So he's kind of hit or miss. Now, there's actually something that the video games do that this movie doesn't, and you might consider this a mild spoiler, but like I'm not going to get into any plot details, but the video games usually feature some kind of a supernatural element, particularly at the end of the game. Something supernatural, kind of crazy happens. Like there's zombies at the end of the first one. There's like old ancient temples that pop up in the like second or third one. The fourth one, I don't think anything supernatural happened in that game, but nothing supernatural happens in the movie either. They play it straight. There's no like crazy sci-fi or fantasy stuff. So if you were looking forward to that, it's not in there. I know the supernatural stuff always bothered some people in the games because they felt like it kind of came out of left field or something. I always liked it. I thought it was fine. We've talked about the casting a lot. I thought Antonio Banderas was pretty good as the main villain, Santiago Moncada. And Sophia Ali as Chloe Fraser. At first, I thought she was the actress from Aladdin. Then I realized that it wasn't her. And there's Tati Gabrielle as Braddock, who's like a main henchman, henchman number one. The performances are pretty good overall. Nothing spectacular. But I mean, Tom Holland does shine the most. He clearly has a lot of passion for the character, and he clearly wants to nail this. Like, he clearly wants to give the fans the Nathan Drake that they want. So I'm not questioning his dedication at all. It's just mainly, I guess, his age and like maybe the physical appearance. Because again, Nathan Drake has such a specific feel to him, and he's so well realized in the games that you just kind of wish you could export him and just stick him in the movies, So why is the movie just okay? Like, it's pretty good. It's not fantastic. I thought it was fine. I think some of the humor just lands a little bit flat. You know what I mean? They throw a lot of jokes at you. Some of them are just meh. They're okay. The movie doesn't do anything groundbreaking. You know what I mean? It's very by the numbers most of the time. It feels like something you've seen multiple times, especially if you've played the game. This just feels like a greatest hits of all the games, and they're just like slapped together. The Uncharted games already felt like movies, but they felt like extended, like 10, 12-hour movies. You know what I mean? So in a way, just a regular 2-hour movie feels like a downgrade from the game, because you get to spend so much more time with these characters in the video games. You get to dig deeper into their psyche, their relationships with one another. One of the greatest things about the Uncharted games is that even when you're just walking around with Nathan Drake, but you have another character walking with him, they're constantly talking. There's constant banter. It's usually very funny. And it's you get to know these characters more and more and more. So it's going to be hard for the filmmakers to give you that same kind of feeling in a 2-hour movie when you get 10 to 12 hours in a video game. So that was always going to be, I think, like a drawback to a movie. But again, it really did feel like Uncharted for a lot of the time. Usually video game adaptations are horrible. This was by no means horrible. I did have a good time. The audience that I was with seemed to have a pretty good time. And also the theater was relatively full, like given the economic situation here in Lebanon and given COVID and everything. Would I watch a second Uncharted movie if they announced a sequel today? Yes, I would. It's actually, like, I'm excited to see where these characters grow. I'm excited to see Tom Holland grow into the role of Nathan Drake. I'm excited to see Mark Wahlberg grow into the role of Sullivan. I want to see their chemistry sort of improve. I want to see the relationship I got to see in the video games grow and flourish on the big screen. There's a lot of exciting stories that you could tell. It's kind of endless. Just dig into history, find all these treasures. There's so much that they could do with this franchise. Like, it could easily run for 3, 4, 5, 6 movies. So I would be down to see where it goes next. They acquitted themselves nicely with this first one. It's a good, solid, fun action-adventure movie. Doesn't do anything spectacular. Doesn't reinvent the wheel. But it respects the source material. It respects the games. It tells a pretty fun story. You've got a dedicated cast, at the very least, a very dedicated Tom Holland, who's really trying his best to give us the best Nathan Drake. And it definitely, respects the game. So if I had to give it a rating, I usually try not to give numerical scores anymore, but if I had to give this movie a rating, I would give it a 7 out of 10. Solid 7. I don't think you're going to regret watching this in a movie theater or at home, wherever you choose to watch it. It's 2 hours, pretty well spent, not going to blow your mind. But if you're a fan of the franchise, if you're a fan of the games, I think you'll get a special kick out of it. Thank you for tuning into my review, folks. Please like the video, leave a comment, let me know what you thought of the movie down below. I would love to hear what you guys think, especially if you've played the games. How did you think it compared to the games? Subscribe to the channel, become a Do Not Warrior. And if you're interested in supporting this channel on Patreon, check out the link in the description to support us on Patreon. Thank you so much, and I'll see you on the podcast very soon.